Welcome back, weary travelers, to Recorder on the Wall. We're here to cover Bellmaker Book 1. I'm Matthias 720.
I'm Kayde.
I am Adam Mada.
And I am Jeremy, and Pete is most likely out this week. We sent him off through the wicker to repair that wicker gate that kept getting broken into. And so he'll let us know when he's ready. But for now, I'm recording. I have control.
Not again.
And it's not going to his head at all.
Yes, so we are, as Matthias said, covering the Bellmaker Book 1. What was everyone's first exposure to this book?
I don't think I came to this one until pretty much later, maybe in college, because I was like, oh, so there's a series of these books out that I like, and I'm obsessive, so I must find and read them all.
I'm not really remembering. I remembered a lot as starting to read it again, like remembering a lot of the plot elements, but I don't remember when I came to it. I don't even know if I read it before or after Mariel.
I think it was probably just me borrowing it as another book, part of the series from the library. But I can't remember the exact circumstances. It was like 16, 17 years ago. I read them I read them all out of order. It was just whatever was at the library. I don't even remember what that order was because I've read through the series so many times.
Yeah.
But if I had to pin down where do I think it is, I think it was about probably somewhere between, I don't know, maybe a third of the way through to halfway through reading the series. And this was all before Tagarung came out. So this is pre-Tagarung.
I remember Bellmaker for a while. The audiobook was not on Audible, so I found a cheap copy of it on cassette on Amazon. So I got that one first, and that's how I first listened to it.
Cool.
But then it was on Audible, so I was much happier with that because my cassettes were, they were used when I got them, if that tells you anything, if you know what cassettes are like.
That was my first thought. Like, do we have to explain cassettes to anyone?
So kids,
do we have younger listeners?
Kids, you can Google it.
Had music on this thing called tape.
Yes.
Yes. And you had to occasionally, if your player wasn't working right, rewind them with a pen.
Yep. Or sometimes the tape would get all tangled up in the player, and then you would have to very patiently untangle it and then move the little wheels around so that it went back into the cassette. That was always fun.
Yes. For me, this was actually the second book I read out of all the Redwall books, and I remember I always remember back to when I first read it because it said, from the author of Martin the Warrior on it. And so it's like, oh, this must be like a sequel to Martin the Warrior. No, it is not.
No. Most definitely not. I mean, unless you count, it's not a direct sequel. I guess technically it is because it happens after. But...
Yeah. So I barely remembered a whole lot from when I first read it. The one thing that always stuck it out in my head was, and we'll get to it when we get to book 3, but there's a specific very late in the book character death. It was the only thing I remembered from it. But
well, that's not depressing at all.
Yeah. I remember it was not one of my favorites for a while. Actually, for a little bit, it was my least favorite just because it wasn't, what I thought it was and everything, and I didn't remember it very well. But over the years, I've definitely gotten more and more of an appreciation for it. And I like the fact that in many ways, it's very different from a lot of the other books.
Now, that's interesting because I have kind of the opposite opinion where I haven't liked it because it is so different. I mean, even my book itself that I'm holding in my hands is like the paper feels different from the other books. The font seems slightly weird to me. I can't explain it.
Yeah, I will say like there are some oddities on the paperback version that do you know which version of the paperback you have? Like, is it the one where on the front cover it's Joseph, Finbar, and Formal with like Martin as a ghost in the background?
The Ace Fantasy Edition.
Yes, that's the one I have too. And you can very much tell I've had this since like 1996 or 1997 because it is a little torn up with markings and stuff because it was sitting in my backpack when I would take it to school. But yeah, there's like random times where a chapter ends and then you turn the page and there's like a blank page before the next chapter starts.
Oh, weird.
Yeah, like the book looks bigger than it actually is. Like for the longest time, actually, I mean, it is kind of long. This version is like 397 pages, but yeah, it's technically, I guess, because some of the pages are blank. Yeah. But yes, this is officially it's the sequel to Mariel of Redwall, and it takes place X amount of time afterwards.
I think it says 4 seasons later.
Oh, is it? Okay.
X meaning the number I forgot.
Right.
It's not that long when you think about it. Like
this is the point that I brought up in Martin the Warrior, where I couldn't tell if the prologue of that was supposed to go between Mariel and Bellmaker, because if it was, Saxtus got super old and then super young again.
Yeah, that one. Yeah, that one is kind of weird. I wonder. I'm assuming Martin was written before this one then, because maybe after he wrote that, he decided to adjust a few more things.
It was, but I mean, the books are not that far apart from each other, like 4, 6, and 7. So, I mean, I guess I'm a little disappointed with the continuity.
Yeah, this is true. It wasn't like Legend of Luke where it was written very far after everything.
Yeah, like after Mossflower, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to complain about the continuity later on. We'll get there.
Okay.
It's okay. I complain about the continuity all the time. Welcome to my parlor.
Well, my initial complaint on it was almost all these have like a map that it's like the first couple of pages they kind of show you like basic stuff, and it literally shows in Southsward Pearl Queen landed here. Spoilers. Like they're telling you what's going to happen. But yeah, this is and Southsward. This is our first, and I think this is, unless it's in one of the books I haven't read, this is our only appearance of a South Kingdom, correct?
I mean,
so.
It depends on if you count Loamhedge Abbey as like a separate locale.
Right, but it's not active. It's not like a, you know what I mean? Active is not the right word, but I can't find words today.
I hear you.
Okay.
Living.
It doesn't have any, well, it has those evil rat people in it, but
this is true.
I don't think they count.
Yeah. And this is considered to be very far away from Redwall. Like, it's not something that they just travel for a few days and go, oh, here it is.
And also, we have a king and a queen and a prince. We have a complete family.
Yeah.
What? For now. I mean, no spoilers, who knows if they'll all make it through, but for now, we have two parents and a child.
Yeah. And our villain, Ergen Nagru, is that how it's pronounced in the...
It is.
Okay.
Mr. Palindrome.
Mr. Palindrome.
Yes.
And also known as the Foxwolf, which I do remember another thing from my first time reading this. Because those names are used so interchangeably for the same character, for a time I thought it was two separate characters.
Huh.
It is our first big bad that's a fox. We've had rat, stoat. I think have we had a weasel yet?
We've had a ferret, but not a weasel, I don't think, in chronological order.
Gotcha. And we've even had wildcats, but this is our first fox, and it's going to be our only big bad that's a fox for a little while.
Yeah.
Well, or if we're going just purely chronologically, yes. But in terms of what we covered so far, Matthias.
Oh God,
That's true.
Yeah,
Although,
Slagar.
I mean, there were a lot of villains in that, but I guess that's true. Slagar was the main villain.
Yeah.
Good call. I
Good one.
completely forgot about Slagar.
Yeah, I can't believe I forgot that one.
I was thinking purely chronological and not like what we had covered so far in the podcast.
I was thinking everything that we'd covered so far. I totally forgot about Matthias.
Oh, poor Matthias.
I know. And our introduction to him is, granted, however, though, this is our first instance of a wolf being mentioned, correct?
And I think it's
Yes.
the only one. And also, poor wolf, he's already dead when he's mentioned. So, yeah.
And we don't know a whole lot about Foxwolf at first, outside of he's totally evil. I mean, come on, he's totes evil.
Totes
Obviously evil.
Yeah, obviously evil. And though unlike our other villains, he has a mate. Like, he has a wife, and they don't get along at all.
What? No, they're a completely loving couple. What are you talking about?
Gasp in horror.
Yes. Oh, I was going to mention the audiobook for this one. I don't know if you guys have heard it, but they did some weird casting changes because I think some of the cast members weren't available, but they usually try to stick with the same person if they appear in more than one book. But this one is like the person who played Mariel is now played by the person who played Tree Rose. And it's just, and let's see, the person who plays Tree Rose in this one played Mother Melis in the previous one. It's just like a weird sort of switching going on.
I'm very uncomfortable.
I did the audiobook too, and since we're talking about Ergen Nagru and Silvermold, both of them I found to be like bad voices, but they're going so ham with it that it becomes enjoyable for sure. I found that Foxwolf, he has like a bellsome tone that makes him sound a bit more like a dopey barbarian, not a sly fox at all. And Silverbolt, she sounds like a nasally Wicked Queen of the West kind of thing. Like,
yeah, I actually wondered if this woman was actually like holding her nose while she was saying the lines.
Shoot.
Yeah.
She is nasal as heck, yeah.
I'll get you, my pretty, and your little hedgehog, too.
Yes.
Yeah, we find out that Foxwolf or Ergen Nagru, which we'll switch off on the names, just like the book does, to make it as confusing as heck.
Yeah, well, try reading a Jason Bourne book for that portion, too. Like, Jason Bourne has so many names that you can't figure out who they're talking about.
Oh, jeez.
Oh, fun.
And so he arrives in the south and in Southsport at this huge castle that it's one of the few castles we see that's not actually, I think it's the only castle we see that's not inhabited, but at first by everybody that's evil. Like, it's not like Kotor, where it's just like all the wildcats and all the villains, where we actually have like a benevolent leadership of Gale Squirrel King, who's probably not the brightest bulb in the box.
Yeah, I think he's definitely like sort of a, I want to say a Harry Potter thing, but I don't know how many people will get it, but he's sort of a Hufflepuff. Like, he's a very, very good guy, but he is too trusting.
And we find out that his guard captain and all his guards had left. Rab's Stream Battle, which I gotta say, that's an awesome name.
Yes.
Is.
Oh, I was gonna bring up too that we see these otter surnames come up later in the series, like Stream Battle, Gale Deep.
Mm-hmm.
That I think that's a really cool continuity thing. Like, when Jakes does continuity, he does it super well, which is why it annoys me when he does it not well, because I know he can do it well.
Yeah, I liked that in it was Hyrule Lane, right? Where
Yes, yeah, where all the clans.
Yeah, when the minute I saw Gale Deep, I went, wait a minute, oh my god!
Yeah.
And I got to take Rab to task a little bit because it's like, oh, if only Gale had listened to him, then Foxwolf wouldn't have taken over. Hey, Rab, maybe if you hadn't left and taken all the guards with you, he wouldn't have taken over either.
Yeah, I was going to say, nice tantrum that you had, adult.
Yeah, I'm taking all my guards and going home.
I don't want to play with you anymore because you've got a new best friend.
Why don't you ever listen to me? I have feeling too.
Yeah, it's Rab's Stream Battle and his wife, Iris.
And they actually are a loving couple.
Yes.
I'm watching The Flash right now, so Iris was just a quick little like, haha, know that name.
But enough about them.
Are we doing plot points yet, or are we doing characters still?
Kind of both, just because the plot, like the first plot points and the characters kind of go hand in hand, because we're introduced to a lot of characters right away.
Mm-hmm.
We can loosen up because the Abbot's not here, so we can do whatever we want.
And
If we were starting the plot points, we already skipped the prologue then, but...
Oh, shoot. I'm sorry. I'm also following the notes I put down, and I totally forgot to write down anything about the prologue.
I only had a few notes.
Oh, go for it.
Yeah.
Sorry, my dog just sneezed very loudly.
Aw. So the things I had in the prologue is there's mention of some of the nice food they're having, and they're talking about a pudding, a berry pudding, and it's apples, nuts, berries, plums, and memories. I was wondering if that was enough to experiment some recipes.
Yeah, I want that.
There's a lot of good sounding food in this book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, probably some sort of crust, like maybe some sort of cookie crust and like some Cool Whip and some pudding and then the fruit and the nuts. And yeah, I could probably make it. Now I make myself hungry.
Yeah, I was happy that I was eating while reading this book, or else I would have really gotten really starved.
Yeah.
So yeah, the prologue doesn't have too much else. It's just an old unnamed squirrel telling the story. And I think it's funny that he's no doubt unnamed because he's obviously in the book. So does anyone remember who he is? Do we want to do a guessing game?
I remember who he is.
Okay.
I know.
Yeah, I remember who he is.
Okay, we all know. Okay.
Yeah, I was thinking
It's Mr. Squirrel at last.
Yes, it's Mr. Squirrel.
Wouldn't work.
Okay. And with him is an old hedgehog too.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. But I think he was named. I'm not sure, but maybe not.
I
guess
remember,
he's not.
actually.
Oh, now thinking about it, he's not.
Okay.
But the second to last paragraph drops the name of the book. Name drop, love it.
Oh, yep.
And yeah, that's it for prologue.
Okay.
Yeah, I really like this prologue because I just find something very cozy about, eating some good food in front of a fire while there's like bad weather outside, just telling a story, just hanging out. I just find that very cozy and comforting.
Yeah, I always like the... Oh, go ahead.
Oh, okay. The prologue actually gave me a little bit of not quite claustrophobia, but I'm trying to think of the gatehouse just filled to the brim with dibbuns all clamoring for, this pudding and, a story. And it's like, no, that's the exact opposite of calm and cozy. That's tension-inducing.
That is true. Actually, now that you mention that, I'm just wondering how many times, if we're looking at these two telling the story to all these dibbuns, how many times they got interrupted with questions.
I was just pleasantly surprised to not have a scene in the gatehouse that doesn't involve piles of dust.
Oh, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Good point.
Usually when they go to the gatehouse, it's, hey, let's try and find some parchments under layers and layers of dust because none of us know how to clean this place.
Yes.
And yeah, so then it goes, and I like the fact that also they say that the story was put together by multiple people. And so this way it kind of gives that illusion of, oh, this is how they know of these scenes that they weren't there for. So after we're introduced to the fact that the villain has taken over Southsword, or at least the castle, that Rab has cooked up a plan to help out the squirrel family. Good job, better late than never.
Yeah.
And they've decided to do essentially a jailbreak. But then we get to cut to Mariel and Dandin, and they are instantly so much fun.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
A lot of couples in this book, actually, now that I think about it.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, although Mariel and Dandin are never officially, like, they don't say specifically, oh, we're a couple.
True.
So I don't know if that means that I do enjoy friendships of any sort.
Mhm.
So it would be okay with me if they were just really good friends as well.
Yeah, they're buddies.
Yeah.
More like a battle couple of sorts.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Imagine Mariel and Dandin could have a series kind of like Hercules or Xena, where
Yeah.
they're just traveling companions going from thing to thing and having fun and being friends.
Mariel and Dandin, the legendary journeys.
Yes.
Yeah. I love how Dandin is like rhapsodizing about Redwall food and she's like, shut up.
Yeah, there is a start to a Dandin homesick. Like, it happens a couple of times.
Yep. And I have to vote, let's weaponize more oatcakes.
Yes.
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 I put down, like, I remember the oatcakes coming up a lot. I hope you added them to the character list.
Yep. Wait, let me see if Pete has added those. If not, I will add one. Oh, you know what? There's actually a blank space under heroes, so I am oatcakes.
Nice.
It has now been added.
So Dandin and Mariel meet somebody,
Bowley pin tips.
another orphan.
It's Bowley in the audiobook, which I think
Oh.
is kind of weird sounding. But yes, he doesn't have a mom and dad. Oh no, the streak is broken. We had one family and then back to orphans.
Oh, well, don't worry. Well, when we get to Redwall, I mean, that streak was going to get broken anyway. So,
That's true.
considering the massive amount of children there with absolutely no parents, except for, oh, we'll get to them.
Yeah.
And yeah, we get the first instance of weaponized oatcake of Mariel throwing it and knocking Bowley out.
Yeah, and I love how she's just like, I just hit a baby.
Yeah, oddly remorseful, like, considering how, like, she in the past would maybe not have cared. Like, hey, he was trying to steal from us.
Yeah. And then she immediately takes that back when he's like all smart mouthed at them, and it even says Mariel's amount of pity immediately goes away, and she's like, "Hey, you little bug, stop yelling at us."
Yeah.
From blubbering to boisterous in just like blink of an eye.
Yep.
Mhm.
And we find out that two weasels have basically like enslaved him to make food for them, and they have lots of apple pancakes. I love.
They
apple
have
pancakes.
food, and Mariel and Dandin don't.
Yep.
Yes. And I gotta
Time
point
to
out,
rectify that.
These weasels are dumb. They can't even make mint tea. I mean,
Can't even start a fire. Like they don't know how to rub two sticks together.
And
What's
they burn
that
their
quote?
hands on the pot. And
Yep.
What's that quote? I don't remember which book it's from. If brains was bread, you would have starved to death before you was born.
I can't remember.
That does sound familiar. And yeah, so Bowley shows up, and then Mariel shows up, kind of pretending to be the helpless mousemaid. But then Dandin shows up, and they're like, "Oh shoot, he looks tough." And then the two of them are just kind of casually are like, "Yeah, we've heard about these slavers around here. If we found them, we would totally beat them up. You guys don't know anything about that, do you?"
Nope.
And then Mariel like tying a rope in like multiple knots and be like, this reminds me of that rope I would use to smack seagulls over the head. You guys
Yeah.
look like seagulls.
yeah, it's funny that, like, they've been traveling for a year now, and Mariel chooses this moment to make a new Gullwhacker.
This is true. Like,
I
what was
mean-
he using otherwise?
Maybe she had one and just lost it somewhere, or she wanted to make a better one.
Hmm. And she
Or maybe-
smashes some nuts here too.
Right,
Yep.
exactly.
It's Mariel Nutwhacker.
Yes.
And even Bowley kind of gets in on the fun and picks up the oatcakes. He's like, "These are my throwing discs." This part always just kind of made me a little confused on that, where it's like, Bowley, they know who you are. They know you don't have throwing discs. Makes no sense.
Yeah,
Well-
it's sort of like a little kid, though. It's like, this is my new toy. It's great.
Yeah.
It's like Dury at the end of Mariel when he's a trag warrior dressed up all in the pirate silks and he's got daggers and stuff, and it's like, yes, I'm really tough now, and it's like, no, you're not, Dury.
Yeah.
No, you're
Here's
not.
my scraggling dagger. And yep, then they get to leave with some food, and I love their bits with Foley where they go, a warrior needs to be tough, and he puts on like a strong face, and like, but he needs to be gentle, and he like does little puppy dog eyes, and
Yeah. There's a bit here
my
on, like,
favorite. My favorite was the one where they're like, he has to be like jolly at one moment and then like deadly the next. So he's trying to be jolly with one eye and deadly with the other.
and as they're laughing, he goes, "Man, being a warrior is tiring."
Yeah.
Yeah, I wonder if all these warrior virtues are similar to the 8 virtues from the Ultima series.
Don't know. Maybe.
Those are video games, right? Or
Yes.
PC games. Okay, I am tangentially aware of them.
It's kind of like, valor, be good, don't steal, things like that. And, like, there's a game that kind of plays a whole center around doing those things. It was a way to encourage the player not to just, sell everything to the merchant and then kill them and take the gold back. Like, that's bad. Don't do that.
Oh, you mean Skyrim?
Yeah. Wait, you could do that in Skyrim? I didn't realize you could do that.
You would wreck some quests if you did that, but yeah.
True. Yeah. And we cut back to Ergen Negru, and he comes off as pretty frightening from just like a physical standpoint, where he's essentially Wolverine because he sticks his hands in these like wolf claws and he's got like iron, like curved iron bars and stuff in there.
I like that he has like a rap musician though who sings a song about him. Like, he's got a brand, and branding's important. Foxwolf.
TM.
Yeah.
Yes. He's got his own jingle.
Only real villains have jingles and trademarks.
Yes.
And yeah, as we said before, this is the first and only time where they mentioned a wolf, and is only partially seen because honestly all we really see is its hide.
Yeah. And he claims he killed the wolf.
Yep.
We don't know if that's
Which
true or not.
may or may not be true.
Yeah. He may have embellished slightly.
Yeah. And we do meet some other characters here too. Meet like the royal family, and Muta.
Yes.
There's some Game of Thrones stuff here. And earlier we had a thing about the foxwolf fearing winter. Winter's coming.
Indeed. I just think Muta, the name, is a little bit on the nose. Like, did her parents name her that because she couldn't speak? Like, what? That's ableist.
Well, it's not like she could defend herself.
Right? I mean, she's a badger. She could think of something.
Yeah. Yeah, I do like Muta, though. She's silent.
Awesome.
We get amazing moments with her shortly.
Mm-hmm. But first she has to dance.
Yes, which I do like the twist on this where, like, it's obviously humiliating for her, but then, like, the little Truffin, the little squirrel, is like, oh, this is fun. And then she starts enjoying it, like, oh, at least I'm making him smile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that was really sweet.
And we are immediately introduced the impression of she will do anything to keep Truffin safe or make him smile.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
And yeah, even though we only get a quick introduction to Gale and his family, it does set up what happened shortly, and it shows us like his plight and how bad he feels about everything that's happened. That we find out, I think they say like everyone who worked, like all the other servants in the castle are either killed or imprisoned, right?
I believe so, yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And this is kind of what this is like the worst case scenario of what we've seen of villains threatening Redwall. Like this is kind of our vision of, okay, if like Clooney had finished taking over Redwall, this is pretty much what would have happened.
Yep.
Mhm.
But then Gale does say to Serena, right, is his wife?
Yeah.
Yep. And like just kind of mutters to her and is like, by the way, Rab and all his awesome otters are going to get us out of here. Just act natural and be very quiet. Let's get Truffin outside. And like they will put a red cloth in the window. Just make sure you're very settled. Look, there's the red cloth. Yeah. But then so they start running, and I love this moment of Silvermond tries to attack them. Muta grabs her and leaps out the window while still holding her and uses her to break her fall in the moat.
Yes.
And then steps on her head and squishes it into the mud, which, to be fair, if this wasn't a villain, that's pretty terrifying, of like having your face pressed into mud and not being able to pull it back out again.
Oh, I would not be a fan.
Yeah.
I would love to see Muta in WWE. Just saying.
Yeah. Oh my God, she's got the tree branch. Yeah, if we get them. Unfortunately, Gale is knocked senseless immediately and is unable to escape, but the otters help Serena and Truffin run, and Rab sees that pretty much the whole castle's running after them, which we get a great moment where Silvermond's like, get me out of the moat. And so all the rats are like trying to like point javelins towards her, and one of them bashes her in the head with it.
Yeah. Whoops.
Yep. And as she's getting pulled out, she goes, I said, rescue me, not brain me, you idiot. And then Negru runs out and says, look, they're getting away. Let's help. And he just shoves her right back into the moat.
Yeah. Wah, wah.
That's great.
Yep. There's a few kind of almost comical moments of action in this book.
Mm-hmm.
We'll get to, I think, my favorite one a little bit later, but
Mhm.
yeah, but then we get straight serious where Rab by himself starts to hold off like Foxwolf's entire legion, including Foxwolf himself, and then Muta gets in on the action because she's pissed, starts roaring like a savage, and grabs a giant tree branch and starts beating rats across the forest with it.
Yeah, she
Yeah,
breaks it off a tree.
Yeah, it's
Muta is very angry.
Muta is strongest there is.
That's
Yeah.
not at all terrifying.
No,
And Rab runs out of arrows. Like, he must not have learned the ranger skill for unlimited arrows. Like, that never happened to Legolas. Like, maybe once.
Now, I have a question. Does this mean that Muta is secretly like the great niece of Sunflash?
Could be.
I don't know.
possible. I thought you were going to say great like grandmother of Constance.
I mean, it could work.
Sunflash had a mute thing, too, when he was when he was enslaved. So.
Oh yeah, that's true.
Well, wasn't that just because his what are you
His
talking about?
mouth was bounded. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah.
I'm thinking about that.
Yeah.
But on the other side of the spectrum, while all this like crazy, awesome fighting and desperate escapes are going on, Saxtus is writing.
Yes, and he's being bothered by a bee. Bees,
Yeah.
my God.
Which
And then he stings gently to the bee, and it goes to. Oh wait, wrong book. Sorry.
Yep. I do have to say, Saxtus is the abbot and the recorder. Like, dude, delegate.
Mhm.
Yeah, that's a lot of responsibility.
Yeah. I think this is the only time that actually happens where where we have the abbot and recorder as the same person.
Yes, we do have a healer recorder combo at one point, and then we have a recorder librarian at one point.
Yeah, which
Mhm.
those do
And
make sense. Like recorder and librarian definitely go hand in hand.
And a recorder retired chef?
Oh right, yes.
I just want to point out here when we're going through Saxtus's basically summary of everything that's happened since Mariel that we really need to know about, points out just how many creatures have died. And it's like, if it's only been 4 seasons, Friar Cocklebur, either he was like way older than he looked, or he died super young. I always thought he was like a teenager, like supposed to be like 17, 18, somewhere around there.
Yeah. Wait, was Cocklebur the assistant, or was he the first?
Was the assistant.
He was the assistant.
Oh, right. Yeah. So what happened? So they don't even mention who the friar, like, what happened to the friar from that book then, right?
Yeah, I don't think so. Yeah, Jake's had a little bit of a slip-up, I believe.
I think so, yeah. Because I remember at the end of Mariel of Redwall, Cocklebur did become the friar, but yeah, that's... All right, and apparently Abbot Bernard was super unhealthy because characters that are older than him, and I think Gabe Quill just drank a little too much.
Well, yeah.
That's true, yeah. We find out that Abbot Bernard, Friar Cocklebur, and Gabe Quill are all gone, but Mellis is still around, Simeon is still there, and we find out that not only are Rosie and Tarquin married, they have 12 kids.
In 4 seasons.
In 4 seasons. That's a lot of trips to the Cabbage Patch.
Okay. So is that everything that's sort of happened in the in-between?
Pretty much. I mean, once we cut back, we do know that none of them have heard from Mariel or Dandin for a while, so they're not like sending letters or anything, though I don't think there's any real postal service in this franchise, and they also said that none of the visitors have claimed to have seen them, so this also kind of reiterates that Southsword is really far away.
Mm-hmm.
It is. I was thinking about that a little bit too, and I think the only instance I can think of where letters are exchanged is in Hyrule Lane, when the goose is carrying messages back and forth.
Yep.
Forgot that part. It's been a little while since I think I read Hyrule Lane, I want to say now 5 years ago.
Yeah. Oh, and also like when the badgers or when the hares visit Redwall, or when people visit Salmandastron, sometimes they carry like a message from the Badger Lord or from the Abbess or whatever.
That's true. Tarquin had the note with him last time.
Yeah. And that's the only correspondence I can think of.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And
hire owls like Harry Potter.
There we go. And we get immediately, there's a big feast. And I was so glad I ate dinner before reading this part of the book.
Yeah.
There is a lot of food that they go over, and I don't even remember it all.
It's a lot. It is a lot. And like, there's all these characters who have just shown up. Like Joseph's had a dream, but he doesn't quite remember it. But then he hears like, Tarquin's here, and Tree Rose and Oak Tom are here, and it's like he knows that plot is about to develop as the characters from the last book are gathering.
Yep.
I think I'm gonna remember soon.
Yes.
Yeah, we found out that Tree Rose has grown from the kind of spoiled brat in the previous book to she just lives in nature now. She doesn't even live at Redwall anymore.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
She's become very much like Oak Tom.
Yep. And Roof Brush is like he's regressed a lot from the previous book.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, poor thing.
Yeah.
I wonder if maybe Dury told him like war stories from the last book, and that's why he just doesn't want to leave.
Yeah, Dury's like, there was a time that Dandin and I got captured and were oar rowers, but don't worry, that only lasted for like half a chapter.
Then there was a time that Dandin was lost in a swamp for like 10 seconds, but then Martin saved him, so it was all fine.
Yep. There was that giant crab and the scorpion, and Roof is like shivering in the corner.
Yeah.
Poor Roof is convinced that the instant he steps out of the gate, he's going to be surrounded by adventure that wants nothing more than to crush his hopes and dreams.
Yes.
And we had some Dibbon antics prior too. They showed up all dirty, and Abbot Sactus told them they had to go have a bath. And I thought it was funny that Mother Mellis wasn't here giving baths. I guess social service won't let her bath anyone anymore.
I do like the description we get of the mouse babe. where not only is he dirty, he's completely covered in strawberries, like just strawberry goo.
And
They were guarding them.
Oh yeah.
I love how throughout this entire book, and by book I mean all 3 books of this book, Mouse Babe does not get a name besides Mouse Babe.
Yeah, I had that too. Like I think is it other books too where they have an unnamed Mouse Babe? They just always refer to him as Mouse Babe.
I don't know.
I think we've definitely had characters that don't get names, like the beaver in the first book in Redwall. Like they just say solitary beaver, but they never actually give him a name.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
But this Mouse Babe comes up enough that they should have given him a name. But
this is true. He becomes like a pivotal character.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And they just keep referring to him as Mouse Babe.
Yeah.
It's strange.
It would have been funny if just like that goes on until the very end of the book, and it's like, what is your name? He's like, Bob.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why didn't you tell us? Why'd you keep calling me Mouse Babe? Just imagine him like he's a grandfather, and the little kids are still just calling him Mouse Babe.
Yeah.
And after dinner, though, I do like the trick. They get the dibbuns to go to bed. They're like, oh, well, if you want to stay up, you can help us wash dishes. Boom, they're all gone.
Yeah.
That was really cute.
Mm-hmm.
And yeah, Joseph is worried about Mariel and Dandon, and I'm sure they're fine. And oh, look, they're surrounded by rats.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, I guess if we're going right to that, they meet some of the gray rats of Ergen Nagru's horde. His name is Captain Breglin. And in the audiobook, he's actually got a pretty cool and sly-sounding voice. And I thought it was hilarious that he loses a tooth. He takes a shot to the mouth and loses a tooth, and his voice is still cool.
Yeah.
Like he would be swollen and
Yes, but see, that doesn't lend itself to compelling, attractive sounding audio. No.
I'm fine.
Going
He's
from
got the flesh wound.
Does anyone know a dentist? Mariel's like, well, I know how to knock teeth out. Yes, I am fully aware of that now.
Yes, but I also like how she smashes the patriarchy with her Gullwhacker because he's like, "Ooh, what's your name, pretty lady?" And she's like,
Yeah, and I'm gonna go. I do. First of all, we get another instance of weaponized oat cake where they're like, "Bully, can you knock out that one rat?" And he just like wings it like a frisbee and pegs the guy right in the head.
He's like, "Okay, I did that. What do we do now?"
Yeah, Dandon just like, oh, not yet. Though I gotta point out, so they attack the rats and just kind of beat them away. I get benevolent heroes, but these rats are threatening children. I say they're free game to kill.
Yes. Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. Did we mention they were threatening a mole in his?
Yeah, they're threatening an old mole who was actually giving a good. They said he was giving a good account of himself, and there were like his grandchildren there, and it's like, I would just take these guys out. They're threatening kids.
Mm-hmm. I think it's like they're kind of quickly outnumbered, right? And it kind of goes to a standoff.
Yeah, where Mariel grabs Dandon's dagger and holds Breglin at knife point. But then another rat runs up and just points an arrow at Mariel, and they're like, well, this is a fine pickle.
Yep.
I think, but it goes to Ergen Nagru for a bit before returning to the standoff.
Yep.
There's not much there, other than one of the rats is named Filch, so I'm wondering where Mrs. Norris is.
Yes. Yes. I love a good Harry Potter reference.
I also got a comment, Nagru, you really should know that unless you see a hero die, they're gonna be coming back later and swearing vengeance. I mean, if you don't believe me, just ask Kabul about Mariel and Joseph, and oh wait, you can't. He's dead.
Right.
Like, he even says, like, because they lose track of Rab and Muta, and he's like, they were full of arrows, they're dead. No, dude, you really should have made sure they were dead.
Mm-hmm.
Did you read any of the other books, Ergen Nagru? Come on. And I just think it's funny because I was thinking of the thing that we discussed in Mariel, where all these rats have like these weird names, and we were thinking that they probably changed their names from something else. And and I was just wondering what Ergen Nagru's name was before he changed it. I was thinking like Robert or like Ronald,
Billy.
something like that. Yeah.
Yeah, we get a lot of we get a lot of like rats named in this one, to the point where Pete actually asked me last night. He's like, "Do we need to list off everyone?" And I was like, "Dude, I didn't know who Gatchag was until you wrote it down."
Yeah.
And yeah, I gotta point out, Nagru and Silvermon seem to, or more, kind of hate each other. Like, how did these two end up together?
They're
Arranged
seeking
marriage?
counseling.
Convenience.
Convenience.
Yes. I don't know. I was reading a crackfic at one point, and someone did ask Ergen Nagru why he married Silvermort. He's like, I don't know, she was cute or something like that.
It's like, when I first saw her slaughter a bunch of mice, oh man, it was love at first sight.
Yep. Now I'm picturing a love song playing while someone is just slaughtering a bunch of mice.
And
So do we go back to the standoff now, or no, is there more to that?
Almost. We do get Iris and Serena talking, where we find out that Queen Serena does not want to leave Southsward until they get to retake it back. And we get a quick little cut of that Truffin, while he's sleeping and he's too young to realize it, Martin is kind of telling him, like, by the way, help is on the way.
Yeah, I mean, that's not the best choice, Martin. Why would you like send your dream visions to a baby who cannot explain it to other people?
Yeah. Martin's
There was a wire cross there. It meant
Yeah.
to go to somebody else.
Martin's like, I can appear to one person in this entire kingdom. This seems like a good idea. Goo.
Yeah.
I have made a mistake.
Yeah, I can just see him kind of scrolling through, and he's like, "Oh man, I hit send too soon. Crap."
Spoilers, Martin.
Now, I have a slightly more serious point to make. Just because at this point, it's just before. Well, let me double check, because I don't want to incorrectly introduce this moment. But Silvermort and Ergon are going back and forth, and Silvermort's talking about the royal family, and she's actually using the individual names. And it's like, how rare is that for a villain to actually not only know one of the good characters' names, but use it correctly and not just call them by their species designation?
Mm-hmm.
This is true. Yeah, I think the only I can think of, like, I think Gabul refers to Joseph as by name at one point, but that's when he's like luring him in to shove him out a window. But yeah, I can't. Well, Slagar kind of does, but he also doesn't really, like. I think he just refers to Methuselah as old mouse or things like that. But yeah, it is. This definitely is an oddity in the franchise. There's also, in a lot of cases, the villains don't know the heroes' names. Like, Badrang kind of forgets Martin's name until near the end. He's like, oh, shoot, that guy.
Yeah. Yeah, they're usually remembered by the villains more for their actions, and like they defied them in some way than what their actual name is.
Yeah, because like even Clooney, with all the stuff that Constance does, like all he refers to her is like Badger. He's like the Badger. And yep, now we come back to the standoff.
Yeah, so standoffs usually mean new character rescue.
Yep. And this is no different.
I like Meldrum. I like his weapon. I guess
Yep.
we're introduced to the weapon first, and just like a quick movement, noise, and thwack.
Yep. Just this rock comes flying in, hits the rat between the eyes, and then this string just pulls it back, and they're all like, "What the heck?"
Sound effects you can hear.
Yep.
Yeah. I gotta
And-
say, I love his voice in the audiobook. It's just kind of this gruff, sort of mumbly, sort of like old man voice. But it's like, sort of a gruff old man voice.
Meldrum the Magnificent.
Yes.
And
Fantastic name.
yes. I really like also, he feels a lot different from some of the other hares where he has like their kind of typical speech pattern, but he comes off as way more no nonsense than a lot of the others we've seen. Like even like Clary, Colonel Clary was the leader of his group, but he was also, for the most part, like pretty casual with a lot of his speech, where even in calm parts, Meldrum is just always, like the drill instructor.
Mhm.
Yep. And he won't let his nephews address him as Uncle Mel, which is
Or
kind of funny.
Nunky.
Or Nunky.
Nunky Mel.
Yeah, we find out he has 4 nephews with him that are essentially like his soldiers, and they're pretty. And I do like where it's like, quick, disarm all those rats, and one of them tries to disarm Dandan. He's like, can't you tell the difference between a mouse and a rat?
And I was like, he saves them, and then he introduces himself, and he's like, I'm Meldrum the Magnificent. They're like, no doubt you've heard of me.
Yep.
And they're like, no. It's like, I think like Meldrum needs some branding.
Yep.
Yeah. He needs a jingle.
How he gives medals to himself.
Yep.
Yes.
He has lots of medals, and we find out later, yes, that he makes them himself.
Yep. Where he's like, all right, took out 16 rats and killed 2, so I guess I'll give myself 2 of these. And yeah, he seems to be very particular about what he'll give himself medals for, though.
Yeah.
At least he's honest.
He's honorably pretentious.
Honorably Pretentious would be a good, indie band name.
And the moles invite them back to eat, and eat they do.
Yep. Is this the
And-
first mole colony?
Huh?
Is this like the first mole colony?
There was one in Mossflower.
Yeah, Mole Deep, right?
Yes.
Nice name.
Yep. This one seems a little bit more packed. Like this one is like an actual full on huge amount of moles with kids and everything. Mole Deep did seem to be like a extra spot they kind of went to besides what's it called? Brock Hall.
Yeah.
And they're like, "Oh, you should totally stay here and sleep." And they're like, "Yeah, that's a good idea."
Yeah.
Just snororama. And Meldrum kind of gives Mariel and Dandan, or Meldrum, Mariel, and Dandan learn a little bit more from Ferp, I think is his name, the leader of the mole group. And he tells them about Foxwolf, and they're like, he seems to be half fox, half wolf. And Meldrum's like, well, he'll be half dead when I find him.
Yeah.
And we get I really like this bit of Dandan thinking about Redwall.
Yeah,
It makes
homesick again.
Yep. But it does make me think of the previous book where he's constant, he is thinking about it, and he's like, he seemed a little iffy. And that one, it was just, no, I need to do the right thing. And this one, he looks over to Mariel and is like, no, I know I am here. And,
Yeah.
And hearing about the predicament that Southsword's in, he's like, you know what? I know why I'm here. I should be here. This is where I'm supposed to be.
Yeah, I thought that was a sweet, because it shows that people can be conflicted about things. Sometimes in these books, the characters seem a little bit one-dimensional, but I like how it shows that he really does miss Redwall, but he knows that what he's doing is right.
And that's where that kind of stops there on that part of the story, and we go back to Redwall.
Yep.
Pretty sure.
Yes, and Joseph relates the dream that he had where Martin came to him, and he's like, dude, bad stuff's going down. You should totally go there and bring these people with you.
Oh, Martin's a bro now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mark the hero of ages confirmed.
Here's some vague directions. This is Martin GPS, and it's not very good.
Yeah, I just feel like it should have started with Martin's ghost going, "My warrior sense is tingling."
Now I'm just thinking of a GPS, like a Redwall themed GPS, in the voice of Martin from the cartoon, but like instead of directions, it gives you cryptic poems where you're supposed to turn. It would be the least popular GPS ever.
If it tells you to continue south, it goes continue turn thou.
Yeah.
Love it.
And we get Saxtus again. Is like, well, I'm the recorder. I got to write this stuff down. It's like, there are other people there. Like, do you just not trust anybody with this, with writing stuff down? And yeah, so they list off that it's Joseph must go, is going to go south to find, help out Mariel and Dandon and fight Foxwolf and everything. And Martin tells him of 4 others to take with him. And oh god, I need to open it. He gives him it in riddle, and they're all like, "Well, who are these people that you're supposed to take with you?"
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he assembles the Fellowship of the Bellmaker.
There we
Yes.
go.
Yes.
And it's Bellringer who'd love to stay. Go with Cellarhog, I stay. Laughing Flower with Eye of Hawk. Digger who would rather walk. Father Mouse with Beard of Gray. 5 from Redwall. Go away.
Get out of here. Scram.
Yeah.
Beat it. And yeah, so we find out Cellarhog, Duriquil, Digger who would rather walk, which they immediately are like, well, it's 4 mole. It's like, wouldn't that be any mole? Like, it's not very specific.
It comes in a bit more later when they have to go on the water. Like, that's why we find out he would rather walk.
Yeah, which also makes me think like why they were told to bring a mole with them on a ship. Like the only one I can think of so far that has not like wanted to like vom over the side of a boat has been Dinny, who like really got into being on the Wud ship.
Mm-hmm.
And Bellringer, who'd love to stay. Roof, you kind of turned into a weenie.
Poor guy. I would have a lot fewer issues with this because I don't think there's anything wrong with, a dude being afraid of things. But just the contrast between him in the last book and him in this book is like, what happened to you?
Yeah. While there is a big difference between defending your home and going off to unknown land, he was super tough and aloof and brave in the previous book, just in general. And in this one, he's like, I don't want to go. It's scary out there.
So you'd say he became rooful?
And and they find out Laughing Flower is Rosie, and Tarquin's like, but you're a mom, like we've got 12 kids, I'm gonna go insane being the single parent back here. And they're like, well, Tarquin, if she did leave, we were totally gonna let you be the new food tester, and Dury needs someone to look after the drinks, but you know what, no, and Melis can look after your kids, but don't worry about it. No, she'll stay. And she's like, yeah, I'll stay. He's like, no, it's fine. If you need to go, don't disagree with Martin, go ahead.
Yeah. And I love how this is another thing that kind of annoys me. It says in the book, Rosie was an excellent mother and she loved Tarquin dearly. I'm like, where is the proof for that? I didn't see any indication that she loved Tarquin dearly. It's like, one point she doesn't know he existed, and all of a sudden they're married. It's like, what?
It's weird. It is weird.
Maybe she's like, yes, I definitely want to go on this adventure so I don't have to listen to his singing anymore.
Yeah.
Oh.
But I do like that the mother is going on a quest, leaving the father with the children, because it's so often the other way around.
Yes, that is good. And I love this bit where they're like, well, which way do we go? Turn thou, Joseph. And then Joseph turns around.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
And Simeon's like,
And they're like, what's so funny, Simeon? He's like, well, I heard him turn around. That was hilarious. What, are you kidding me? and they realize they have to go south. Then we cut back to Evil Land, where Ergen Negru is like, you will get my dirge collars, the most evil and savage of my creatures. They're adorable! Ermine are the creatures they use, and I decided to look these up because I never heard of them. They're like little adorable white ferrets.
Aww.
They are so cute. So I'm like, oh, I can't take these things seriously now. I'm just like picturing these adorable little things like running around looking for them, like looking for Serena and Truffin.
Well, send it to Sega. I think Sonic needs a new friend.
Yep. Tracker the Ermine. Yeah, I just looked at this. I was like, who's a cute little bloodthirsty tracker? Yes, you are.
I like again that Foxwolf comes out and he lets out a howl. It's like, once again, on brand.
Yes.
Yes, which did not have quite the same effect in the audiobook. I mean, the guy tried, but like, it was just funny.
Mm-hmm. And he has a chant too, where he's like, "What is black and what is red?" And it's like, wait, I've heard this one.
Are you talking about red, the blood of angry men?
Well, it sounded like the riddle, like what's black and red.
Oh, okay. I was like, I immediately jumped to a Les Mis reference, but you know.
He releases the hounds.
Yep.
Ow!
Gonna do? Yeah, they're taunting Foxwell. What are you gonna do? Release the hounds or the bees or the hounds with bees in their mouths, so when they bark, they shoot bees at you?
You know, not for nothing. I don't mind the rhyming, but does every vermin leader need to dramatically recite a verse or two before revealing a plot device of some sort?
Yeah,
Well,
Clooney had it like direct to the point where they're just like, Clooney, kill, kill, kill.
Except for in the animated series where they're like, red wall, must fall.
Oh, right. I forgot about that. Oh, I wanted to forget about that.
You're welcome.
Thanks. And Iris is like, Serena, we gotta get moving. Bad stuff is happening. Move.
Mm-hmm.
And back to Redwall, where Logalog and the Gossam show up, and I realized they weren't in the previous book.
They were not.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. I didn't really think about it until the second he showed up, but I'm happy that the Logalog and the Shrews are in this one. They're always fun. And
Yep.
Oh, yeah.
yeah. And if you need a big group where a bunch of red shirts need to die, well, we got the Gossam. Or how's it pronounced?
Gaussum.
Gaussum.
Okay.
Inexplicably, that's how it's pronounced.
Okay.
So there's a neat bit there where Saxtus is trying to explain to Logalog like what they need, and it says like he's kind of nervous and he doesn't know how to say it, and he should really just say Martin says so. That works on everyone.
So says Martin. Yeah, and Logalog's like, well, that sounds great and all. We totally can't do that. And Saxtus goes, oh. Don't give up immediately, dude. Like, we know what we're gonna do, and I realize now because we get introduced to a sea otter soon. Wolves, ermine, and sea otters. We got 3 new creatures in this book.
Oh yeah, I guess river otters and sea otters are different, aren't they?
So like just going based off like what they like the designs and things, like when they show Finbar and like describe him and everything, he sounds very different from like Rab and like Skipper and those other otters.
Mm-hmm.
And I immediately like Finbar.
Yeah, I remember liking him a lot too.
Yeah.
You know, we're gonna go back to the audiobook comparisons. His voice is right out of Pirates of the Caribbean. Like he sounds like Jack Sparrow doing an impression of Captain Barbossa. And his ship is called the Pearl Queen, or Black Pearl Queen.
Yep.
Yeah.
Like,
Yeah, he's
And
oh, go ahead.
oh, I just want to make a stupid joke. Finbar Gildeep backwards is Pedalag Rabnif.
Oh, he's a palindrome too.
Yeah, and he's he's definitely more on like the grayish area of the characters where he's fine with killing and stealing and things like that. He's straight more pirate than like even the shrews are.
Mhm.
And he tells them like, "Yep, here you need to go south." Ah, perfect. I got a great idea. We're going to go there in a ship. I'm like, "Oh, so you have a ship?" Nope. Oh, then how are we going to get there? We're going to steal one.
Yep.
And then
Mhm.
sink the other and kill everybody. That escalated.
But stealing
Indeed.
is wrong, sir.
Mhm.
It's like,
Ah,
not
they're
if you
vermin. Who cares?
Yeah, exactly. He's like, we're stealing from sea rats. Nobody cares. And then we get Roof is like, I've never stolen something. Well, I mean, I took a couple sweet nuts and stuff. And Turi's like, don't worry about it, buddy. Just go with the flow and growl. And then all of a sudden, Finbar just gets in their faces, goes,
Yep.
God.
I just gotta say, like a pedantic point, I realize I have been using the word palindrome incorrectly, but it's just funny because Ergen Negru said my name means the same backwards and forwards, which is where I got palindrome. But I realized that that is not what a palindrome is. So please don't email me with my incorrect use of words.
That's right.
No, that is what a palindrome is. You know,
A palindrome
like-
is something where backwards and forwards is the same thing, but like technically Ergen Negru wouldn't be one. It would be a name like Hannah, which is the same backwards or forwards.
well, I mean, there's one of my favorite palindromes. Go hang a salami. I'm a lasagna hog. It reads the same forwards or backwards.
Yes.
So it's not a quote unquote single word true palindrome, but it reads
Right.
the same forward and backwards. It's fine.
Okay.
That one's
Cool.
that one's
Okay.
way better than race car.
Yes.
Yes.
Or how about go sit on a potato pan, Otis? I read books on palindromes when I was a kid, so sue me.
No, that is awesome.
Yeah.
It's not an incredibly useful skill, but it's cool.
It's fun to
I
do
think
at
it's a very
parties.
useful skill. Yes.
And we go back to the adorable Ermine. I can't find them scary.
Well,
Just,
how about their
Like-
name is Dirge Caller? That is super menacing, dude.
I know, but they're so adorable looking. Like, I can just imagine being one of the otters on that boat, like, swim faster. They're like, but they're so cute.
Yes. We know that if Jeremy was a character in this book, he would probably get killed by the dirge colors. He'd be like, "Oh, can I pet you?" Ah!
This
As
is the
it-
cutest death ever.
It's gnawing away on his throat. And it's like, oh, it's cute.
Oh, he wants to say hi.
Who's an adorable little killer tracker? Yes, you are. Yes, you are.
Yeah, and we get that Mariel, Dandin, Bowley, Meldrum, and his whole squad are doing a little bit of recon, and they find, oh, there's Serena, Truffin, and all the otters, and they're being attacked by the Cute Patrol. And they immediately are like, Meldrum's like, we gotta go save them. Let's charge into like 800 rats. And Mariel and Dan are like, dude, no, this is a bad idea. Hang on a second. And we get Quick Thinker Mariel again, like in the previous book.
Yeah, she says, Dandon, I know what we're going to do today. Hey, where's Bowley?
Yeah.
It's like, Bowley, can you throw an oat cake at them? But no, they actually tell Bowley and the Leverets to run back to the mole colony and be like, by the way, there's going to be some people showing up soon. Go help them while we fight off an army.
Yeah, I think that's kind of clever though to get the kids out of the way, but make them, because they are doing something useful. So it's not like they're being like, kids, get out of the way. We don't want you around because you're going to get hurt. They're like, no, actually go do this useful thing and tell people what's going on.
And we get them basically beat, like, Mariel and Dandon and Meldrum are fearless during this section, where Mariel and Dandon, like, distract the rat army with stones and then run for it, but it's like a calculated retreat, and Meldrum drops an entire sand mound that instantly kills multiple rats, and both of the cute dirge collars are gone.
Oh man.
Oh man. But they all end up getting trapped in the sand, and Foxwolf is pissed. But the three of them just start insulting him, even though they're trapped.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they are fearless here. They don't care. They're like, "Carol, just dig me out. I'll kick your butt."
I love how like he's like, my dirge collars, you've killed them. It's like way to point out the obvious.
I don't like sand. Of course, and rough. It gets everywhere.
And Barry's dirge collars.
It kind of reminds me of the animated series when Clooney was like, a dishcloth, no.
Sand, no. And yeah, so he then captures them and knocks them out, and we cut back to Mouse's 11. Finbar's 11.
Mm-hmm.
Grand theft ship.
Yep. And Finbar's like, all right, so we're going to steal this ship. And I'm like, great. That's cool. There's a second ship. We're going to run away, right? No, we're going to sink it and kill everyone on board. What? Even Logalog's like, wait, really? Oh, okay. And as he and Logalog go to sink the other ship, the others are like, all right, I'm going to sneak onto the Pearl Queen and help out and like be very, very quiet. Rosie, what are you doing? Why'd you beam that guy in the head and knock him into the hole to alert the entire crew? This is like when I'm playing Metal Gear Solid and I forget that I don't have the silencer on the gun and shoot one guard in the head, and all of a sudden, brink!
Whoops.
Mm-hmm. At least she didn't laugh. Like, she's been doing that a lot. And
This is true. Throughout this whole section, everyone keeps like clasping a paw over her mouth to stop her from laughing. Which I couldn't stop laughing as soon as this routine starts, where Roof beats like 4 sea rats by swinging around and bumping into them.
And growling.
And then falls on one. Oh, that was so funny. And later on, Finbar's like, yeah, I heard Roof took out 4 sea rats by himself. That's awesome.
yeah, it gives him a nice confidence boost here. It's nice.
Yeah. And on the other ship, we find out there are 2 captains, Slip and Strap. Mm-hmm. Sounds like their parents were pretty creative with names. And
I'm going to say that they were originally like Fred and George.
Well, Captain Slip slips up and sees his ship start sailing away. And he's like, hey, come on, let me on the other ship and I'll help you guys out. And the captain's like, says to the first mate of the other ship, Rap Snout, throw him the line. All right, now throw him the other end.
Yeah, it's a good sequence. And if we're going, another audiobook collection is Strap sounds like he has a voice box.
Yep.
He smoked too many.
Yes. And it's funny because that same guy also plays Abbot Saxtus.
Oh, wow. Yeah, and Rap Snout and basically Strap is like, Rap Snout, when we catch the Pearl Queen, you can have my ship. And Rap Snout's like, okay. Bye, Slip. But then we find out that Slip makes it back to shore and finds Blaggett from his group, the one that Rosie brained in the head with a rock.
Oh, Blaggett.
Yeah.
Blaggett's pretty cool. I remember liking these characters back when I first read it, and like Blaggett especially. And it's funny how like they're both so like one's so violent to the other, and the other one just kind of keeps playing it off as happy. Like I get a Bulk and Skull vibe.
Oh, I was gonna say I'm thinking of Blaggett kind of like Pinky from Pinky and the Brain.
Oh yeah, that's good too.
So Slip, what are we gonna do tonight? The same thing we do every
night.
Tried to take over Redwall.
They're Blaggett and Slip. They're Blaggett and Slip.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know if I'm like a very soft-hearted person, but I always just thought the abuse was very sad. Like, stop beating him up. He's trying to help you.
Yeah, I think Rap Snout made the right choice of trying to drown Slip.
Yeah, and it's like, well, slight spoilers, but like this is another theme that Jakes has. Like, no matter how, like, the harder you abuse someone, the more they're gonna eventually, maybe, possibly turn on you.
Oh yeah,
maybe. I'm not saying.
It's possible.
It's possible.
It's a definite possibility.
You get that with
definitely
like, slaves.
maybe a possibility.
Yeah, like slaves and slave masters a lot. Like,
I think then it cuts back to Mariel, Dan, and Meldrum back in prison.
Yes.
And they're still insulting Foxwolf and just standing up to him. And they are awesome. All three of them. Like, Mariel's probably thinking, like, yeah, this is nothing compared to what I've been through. And Danden's like, I was a slave for 10 minutes, I can take this. And Meldrum just, Meldrum's like, I don't care. I don't even think
Meldrum even gets up.
Yeah, he's just kind of lying there like, hey, can you shut the light on your way out? We want to get some sleep.
Yeah, make sure you shut that door now. Okay, Good night.
Dude, they do interrupting my beauty sleep. I need like 6 hours of that at least.
They do comment like after Foxwolf leaves that, like, well, he is right. We are kind of stuck here. And but Meldrum, being like the veteran of them, is like, look, let's get some sleep first, and then we can figure this out in book 2. I mean, the morning.
Yes.
Well, there's a funny bit I thought there before they left. Silvermord comes in and she pulls a Scott Evil, and she's like, "We should just kill them now." Like, why are they alive?
Now we're gonna start picturing Foxwolf with Dr. Evil's voice.
No, I'm going to let them live for now.
I'm gonna put them in an overly elaborate trap and assume everything works out. Silvermord's like, you do this all the time. He even comments though, he's like, she'll get to you eventually, Yeah, Foxwolf Ergen seems to have like a good amount of patience for the most part. Like, he's like, okay, the fact that also he doesn't realize they don't actually know anything. They just happen to show up. And the fact that he captured them after the squirrels got away, how would they know where they went?
Well, obviously you sent them somewhere.
Well, yeah.
Yeah.
I had the plan.
And we cut back to, this is one of the few like ship-to-ship battles we get in the series, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yes.
Yeah, it's a really cool scene right out of The World's End from Pirates of the Caribbean. Cue the Michael Bolton.
And do get a moment where Formol's like really nauseous, and so they tell him to roar, and I can't tell if he's roaring or puking. Because he's just going roar, roar. And they're like, Finbar, what do we do now? And he goes, all right, here's my plan. We're gonna use that giant whirlpool to shoot ourselves south. What about the other ship? Oh, they're gonna drown, and it's gonna be awesome.
Yeah. There's an odd bit of remorse from Joseph there too. Like, it's a too crude ship.
That means
and
extra
Finbar's like, he was like, you know what? My whole family was killed, so shut up.
Yeah, I agree though with Joseph. Like, dude, 1 book ago you were leading a charge to slay a lot more than 2 crews of sea rats, and like personally executing a couple of them too.
Yeah.
But I felt justified in doing that.
Right.
What have those sea rats ever done? Probably the same thing the ones that you fought did. And you could tell Jake's like really got into this sequence with like just the nautical terms, the details of how like this was going to work to get the ship to go south. Like this was an awesome sequence. Yeah, they start heading south, and the last bit in this book is Formal calling out, we sprung a leak.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Oh no.
Mm-hmm. It's to say, like, it all totally happens. Like, they go through the whirlpool, they almost crash a few times, and they get through, and the other ship goes straight down to become the crew for Davy Jones.
Well, yeah.
And yeah, that's pretty much where it ends.
Yep. So far, it's pretty good. Like it's a good setup. Everything is established.
This was a great book one.
Yeah, there's a lot going on in this book too. Like there's a lot of subplots happening. I mean, I'm just like looking through Pete's notes on it too. He points out convincing Tarquin to let his wife go adventuring while he gets to be a stay-at-home dad was surprisingly easy. He just gets to day drink in Quill's place.
Yeah.
Oh.
He does point this out, and I didn't really think about it. Wow, I don't even want to know the poor vermin HR assigned marriage counselor for Ergen and Silvermord.
Oh, yeah. He probably got thrown into the moat.
Yeah.
Or something.
Thrown out the window.
Yes.
So that is it for Bellmaker Book 1. Does anyone have anything else they want to comment on it?
I had a thing about Simeon. What was it? Oh, I was just finding it interesting that Simeon says, he's had to have things described to him all his life, which makes me think that he was born blind, which is interesting because you really never get any young disabled characters until Loamhedge, and that's magically cured by magic.
Yeah.
So it's just kind of something I noticed. Most of the disabled characters are older.
Magic cure
also
for
worth-
blindness.
Yes, magic
Yes.
cure for blindness.
It's also
Yeah,
worth
Loamhedge
noting-
is going to be interesting when we get to that one.
Just like to point out the in the poem from Joseph's dream saying, "Here's all the people that are going." It points out Joseph has a gray beard. You don't hear about facial hair beyond the occasional mustache very often. So
Yeah.
distinctly having a beard mention was interesting, and not just any beard, a gray beard.
Mm-hmm.
That's a good
Yep.
point.
How anthropomorphic are they?
Yep. Yeah, with beards, like the only one I can think of off the top of my head was Gabul, where they said he had like a giant beard with all these like gold things in it.
Mm-hmm.
I bet Joseph is a bit more dignified.
Just a bit.
He has just for men touch of gray in his beard.
Yes, I'm sure he doesn't chop off people's heads randomly either.
Yeah, just for mice.
Just right, yeah.
All right, so that is book 1. And if you would like to find us online, we are located at recorderonthewall.com. We are also on the official Redwall forums. We are on the Eulalia subreddit. I believe so. Pete would know more about that than I do. We are also we have a Twitter account at ROTWpod. And we have a Gmail address that you can contact us at, rotwpod@gmail.com. And we are also on iTunes and Google Play Podcast.
Sweet.
Yep. So then in a couple weeks, we'll be back with book 2 of The Bellmaker, The Pearl Queen. Until then, have a safe journey through Mossflower.
Grrr! Oh, sorry.
Yar.
I was doing the roof brush growl.
Eek.